Ladies and gentlemen, the following podcast is set for one episode. Your host from Columbus, Ohio, is Michael Kirk. Welcome to the Outlaw Mudcast. Hello and welcome to the Outlaw Mudcast, your digital audio dirt sheet for all things Super Show. And today is a day we've been waiting for over a year. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Supershow Sunday. That is right. The annual Kickstarter campaign from SRG Universe has kicked off. We are, at the time I'm recording this, we're just over 4 hours into the campaign. So let me go over what the campaign consists of, what news we have, where we are. I will start with something I wasn't able to cover last time, the tiers. The first 3 tiers of the campaign are exactly like the first 3 tiers from last year in the structure. So tier 1, $30 tier. If you pledge the $30 tier, you will receive 1 starter set featuring the following 4 competitors. Rainbow Girl and Terror Skull are the 2 primary competitors. You also have Whip-a-Whip and Little Miss Fury. You also have a bonus competitor. These are all single competitors, by the way. A bonus competitor, Kenpo Kenny. Now, I'm not familiar with Kenpo Kenny. I believe this is Eugene Kenny from the discussion group. This was the competitor that Steve, on our episode 71, did not want to release, wanted to hold back. I do not yet know why he wanted to do that. I'm sure we'll find out as things go on, maybe even on the next Talk of the Universe. So as of right now, the new exclusive competitor at Tier 1 is Kenpo Kenny. Tier 2, also a $60 tier. You're getting everything in Tier 1, plus you're getting a second starter set. This is a Tornado Tag Team starter set, so all the competitor sets in here are printed tag teams. It's a team of Black Lipstick versus Cryptocurrency. Those are the 2 main teams. The other teams are the Treaty of Friendship and Storage Warriors. The other exclusive competitor in this set, in this tier, which is a singles competitor, is the Duke. The Duke we discussed on episode 71. That is the current husband of the Grand Machine. He's a ballroom dancer. That's his gimmick. The third tier, $115. So again, these same price points for these 3 tiers are exactly the same as they were last year. You're going to get everything in Tier 1, Tier 2, plus you're getting a brand new faction pack, The Family. We discussed the faction pack before. It's going to consist of the 4 members of the family, the Italian Bombata, Lorenzo Manicotti, Paulie the Pigeon Picone, and the brand new competitor, Maria Marinera. There's going to be a tag team also in this. I don't recall if we mentioned what the tag team was on the previous show. And actually, I don't know if we've got an official word. But we may know that soon. I'm currently working the lead to see if I can find out who that tag team is. But that's currently what's going on in the family. Alright, that's Tier 1, 2, and 3. Now, Tier 1 and 2 and 3 there is no set number in Tier 1, 2, and 3. So, you can essentially, if you're pledging in Tier 3, there's unlimited spots in Tier 3. Tier 3, as long as the campaign is running, you'll be able to pledge Tier 1, Tier 2, or Tier 3. Now, there's a Tier 4, a Tier 5, and I think a Tier 6 is how they broke it down. There are limited spots on these tiers. So Tier 4 is everything in Tier 3, plus you'll be able to create an alt art card numbered 1 through 30. This is a $200 tier, so it's $85 more than the Tier 3. As of the time of reporting this, there have been 2 waves for this tier. So we had an entire wave fill up, 30, I believe it was 20 4 spots at this tier, because 6 of the spots are going to be in tier 6. And then I believe they have opened up a second wave that I want to say is a full 30 spot wave. I'm looking at that right now. Give me just one moment. It actually has here that there are 29 spots, and that 17 have backed to that, so there are 12 spots left. At the time I'm recording this, just after 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Supershow Sunday. But there were those waves. Then, of course, there were also Create a Competitor waves. Now, there are originally announced 4 waves of the Create a Competitor. And essentially, Wave 1 would come out first, Wave 2 second, 3 third, and 4 fourth, obviously. Basically, the delivery date would change. So, let me just read them off here. So, Wave 1 of the Create a Competitor, $700 pledge. The estimated delivery date was June 2020. So June of this year, which basically means pledged for Origins. There were 4 spots on that. That was fully backed. All 4 spots were taken. Wave 2 was a $690 tier. Estimated delivery date August 2020, so Gen Con-ish time. 6 backers there. That was fully backed. A $680 wave. This is Wave 3. Estimated delivery October. So, Marktoberfest, I believe, is the closest event to that. After Gen Con, before PAX Unplugged. And then the final wave, November 2020. So, right around PAX Unplugged time. $660 pledge. And then they opened up a 5th wave after all 4 sold out. There are currently 4 spots left in that wave. Same price as the previous wave, $660. Estimated delivery date, January of 2021. So, this wave, if you pledge this wave, you will get your competitor essentially early next year. The difference is you are getting it for about $55 less than what it would normally be on the website. There's still 4 spots at that for people who are looking to pledge. And that's an estimate. Could be sooner, could be later. Obviously, I think it'd be great if it was sooner, but, what can you do? And before I move on to to Tier 6, let me go back, because I'm actually looking at the art for the family pack, for the family faction pack on the Kickstarter website, and I actually see there's 2 tag teams here. So the first tag team looks like it is a tag team of Maria Marinera and Lorenzo Manicati. And while I can't read the name of the tag team, if my source is correct, the tag team is Manicati Marinera. So that is one tag team. But there's another tag team printed here too that appears to be the Italian Bambata and Polly the Pigeon Picone. I don't know what that tag team's called. But they apparently are a tag team. And there's also a trio of the family, which appears to be Lorenzo Manicati, Polly the Pigeon Picone, and the Italian Bambata. I also see a new entrance card pictured here that has the comic book art on it. And it looks like the alt art background for all 3 of the members of the family, Bambata, Polly Picone, and Lorenzo Manicati, it's all Italian flag background. And I can't tell what Maria Marinera's background is exactly. I believe there are card suits in it, and it's kind of a bluish, kind of an aqua blue-green background. But it looks like I'm seeing they have pictured essentially a finish set for each single competitor. I'm not seeing any finishes for the tag teams or the trio pictured. There is pictured in the faction pack a new crowd meter. I believe that is the new tag team crowd meter, based on what Steve and I talked about on episode 71. Yeah, I hadn't really checked out the art on any of these yet. Yeah, there was quite a bit of information in that art. I do also have a picture of the new Lorenzo Manicati. I'm actually going to compare him to the old Lorenzo Manicati later on in the show. But the final tier, Tier 6, and there's just been one wave of Tier 6, $775 pledge. you get to both create a competitor and create an alternate art card. So it's essentially a combination of everything at Tier 4 and Tier 5. Now, at every tier, I haven't brought this up yet, but every tier for the stretch goals that are and promos that are unlocked, they will be available at every tier. So any day 1 stretch goal is available at Tier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Any community stretch goal, any dollar amount stretch goal, all of that will be unlocked if you just pledge in at the lowest tier. Now, you have to pledge in at a tier. There is an option on the Kickstarter, just pledge essentially no tier. It's a $5 pledge. There's a pledge. It's called Pledge Without a Reward. Arguably, I would tell you flat out, if you're going to pledge at least the first tier. Because of the value you're going to get with all the stretch goals, it's worth to make sure to get the stretch goals. Even so, if all you can do is pledge $30 tier, still a good idea. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about the stretch goals, what the stretch goals are, and then I'm going to talk about how we perform, because the Kickstarter has done, I would almost say, surprisingly well compared to last year. So let me start with the stretch goals. There are let me do the community stretch goals first. The community stretch goals, there's 3 of them. Funding in 40 hours, you'll get Atomic Chicken Wing. I believe we talked about Atomic Chicken Wing before. It's a lead card. It's also a finished if you have Hyper, Forearm, Kicker, Hold Choke in play, which I believe, and I'm not seeing that listed here, but I believe that's supposed to be I believe it's a pledge in 48 hours, day 1, day. It's also supposed to be a stretch goal. I'm not seeing it listed here, but my understanding is that is a stretch goal. There's that. There's a Facebook share goal. If you essentially go to the SRG Universe Facebook page, there's a post for the Kickstarter. It is pinned to the top of the post. If you share that, if that is shared 300 times between now and the end of the campaign, and by the way, the campaign is 29 days long, so this campaign should run until I believe the 22nd or 23rd of March. If I am doing the math, I'm not sure. I have not dug deep, but it's essentially a month long. I'm not sure if they're counting essentially this is day 0, so 20. I don't know. It says there's 29 days to go, so I don't know if that means this is day 1 and then 29 days later, so 30 total, or this is. I'm not sure how they're calculating, but it says 29 days to go, so 22nd or 23rd of March is the end date. So 300 Facebook shares, there will be you'll receive an alt art version of Gia de los Muertos. I don't know if that's a full competitor set or just an alt art competitor. All that's pictured right now is the competitor. It'd be nice if it was a full set, but I don't know what the goal is. And then the other thing, and this to me is going to be the hardest one to get, the shares, I don't think will be as bad. On this Kickstarter page, there's a comment section. There's a goal where if there are 420 comments from unique commenters, a brand new competitor, wall of text, will be added to the game. This is the competitor. It's a one-man competitor, but the idea is he's so large, he's a trios card. So he won't be a 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. He will be a 30, 27, 24, 21, 18, 15. If he makes it. Looking at it now, I'm on the Kickstarter page. There are currently 76 comments. So assuming no one's commented twice, that's 76 unique commenters. We are already 1/6 of the way there. Again, I could be wrong if there are repeat commenters. Hopefully we'll be able to do that. That is less than half the members of the SRG Supershow discussion group on Facebook. So if we can just get half the members of the discussion group to post a comment here, we should be able to make that goal. The 300 Facebook shares, it's not unique shares, so I'm pretty sure we'll be able to get that fairly easily. And I believe that has been reduced. I think originally that was 500 Facebook shares, and they've actually dropped that down since the campaign started. It's only 300. I'm somewhat surprised at that because I actually thought the 500 shares would have been easier than the 420 unique commenters. I would actually flip that if I was trying to make it easier on the community. I don't think 300 shares. I mean, 300 shares is 10 people sharing essentially every day. I don't think that one's as hard as the 420 unique commenters. But those are the community goals. We have the first one unlocked, the Atomic Chicken Wing. Before I move on to the goals, let me go ahead and give where we are in the campaign. I am actually really impressed with how they've done on the campaign. So, as of right now, I'm going to refresh the page. As of right now, with 29 days to go, with the Kickstarter being live, not even, at this time I'm recording this, not even 5 hours yet, the goal was $25,000. $44,477 has been pledged from 202 backers. To put that in perspective, last year, the Supershow campaign Uprising, and I can tell you this total took the full time to hit this. For some reason, I thought we had more backers so far than we did last year. I'm actually wrong on that. We had 321 backers last year, but the total pledge dollars was $41,693. So with 100 less backers, we've already blown past last year's total pledged. That is pretty incredible. So like I said earlier, then one of the community goals, fund in 48 hours, we did that. Here are the other funding goals that we've already achieved. We've unlocked the stretch goal at 27,000, 29,000, 31,000, 33,000, 35, 37, 39, and 40, 41, and 43 now. So there are 4 goals listed at 47, a 48, a 49, and 50,000 goals. So we've got about 6,000 more to raise to get all of them. So the first 3 goals we hit were essentially alt art versions of 3 cards that already exist in the game: Knife Edge Chop, Belly to Belly Suplex, and Split Finger Lock. The $33,000 goal is a brand new printed tag team, Polka Dot Tea Party. It is the tag team of Mila Mai and Chamomile Tea. The polka, of course, referring to Kirk Polka, and Tea Party, of course, referring to who Kirk Polka was designed, Mila Mai, and Chamomile Tea Party refers to Chamomile Tea. So that's been unlocked. We've unlocked the 3 finish cards in the Sticks, Steps, and Chair sequence. It's going to take some use to getting that Sticks, Stairs, and Chairs rolls off the tongue a lot better, but it's steps, not stairs, ring steps. So we unlocked Beat and Batter with the Kendo Stick, which is the strike finish in that series. The Standing Steel Chair Drop, which is the grapple finish, and Crush with the Ring Steps, which is the submission finish in that series. We've also unlocked an Alt-Art Terror Skull and an Alt-Art Rainbow Girl. So there are now 3. As far as I know, the Alt-Art for the Rainbow Girl is a different art than the art that, because Rainbow Girl has already been pre-released. I believe the art on the box set is different. I'm not 100% on that. I could be wrong. Maybe it's the same card, but I'm going to assume it's different than the art in the box set. So that would be the 3rd version of Rainbow Girl and the 2nd version of Terror Skull. So there are 4 spots remaining. Another Tornado Tag Team, actually 2 additional Tornado Tag Teams, a die, and 50,000 to new competitor, which we know from both the picture and confirmation by the man himself. The $50,000 stretch goal is going to be Loudmouth Leo Larynx. Loudmouth Leo Larynx will come into the game at $50,000 pledged. And actually, I'm trying to look at the stretch goal picture here. It looks like the first tag team, the $47,000 tag team, might be the Aerial Lipstick as a tag team card. That could be it. I can't tell what the other tag team is. It is pictured in black and white and very small. But yeah, it looks like Loudmouth Leo is going to be the next, is the $50,000 goal. I don't know what the SRG die is going to be. I hope they essentially, whatever die they do make, is going to end up being legal for tournaments. I know that there have been multiple dies for the game created, but only 2 types of the die are legal. The die from last year's campaign, the large black die, and then, of course, all the white dies that come in the starter sets currently, faction packs, mystery boxes. All of those dice are legal. So I hope this die ends up being legal as well. And then before I go on to the $50,000 competitor that's going to be unlocked via Loudmouth Leo, let me briefly mention there was a stretch goal that prior to the Kickstarter going live, which was if 285 people signed up to be notified at launch, the going over the kendo stick, going over the ring steps, and going over the steel chair cards would be part of the stretch goals. We apparently barely made it. I know that as of last night, I think there were times yesterday we were still 50 people short of hitting that number, so I'm glad apparently we squeaked in. So those are also now, when you buy at if you pledge at tier 1, you're going to get those too. So right now we have, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, counting the Hyperforum Kicker Hold Joke if you have already pledged. Single cards unlocked as a stretch goal. We have 2 alt-arts that are part of the tier 1, that are the alt-arts for tier 1 cards. So if you pledge tier 1, you're getting alt-arts for competitor sets you will have in tier 1. And then, of course, the Polka Dot Tea Party. As far as I know, it's still just a tag team card. I'm hoping it's a set, but it might just be the tag team card. Be better if it was a set. The more finishers are better than less finishers. So, especially because we don't have a lot. We only have 1 generic tag team finisher in the game. So it'd be nice if if these sets coming out had full finish sets, have a strike, grapple, and submission finish. But yeah, those are the stretch goals we have unlocked. Let's talk about the newest stretch, the $50,000 stretch goal. The stretch goal I think a lot of people are gunning for. It's a surprise he has not been in the game up to this point, but Loudmouth Leo Larynx, if the pledge total hits 50,000, he will get a competitor set in the game. So just to give you an idea of where we are right now, I just refreshed the page. We're at 44,583 as I record this. So just a little over $5,000 of pledging away. This is going to have... Oh, it just went up $100+ as I was sitting here, 44,623. There are still quite a bit of creative card arts out there, and there's still a majority of Wave 5 of the creative competitors. So there are still some big purchases out there that could help us get from 44,000 closer to 50,000. But as of this point, 44,623 with 205 backers. So Loudmouth Leo Larynx has spoiled the card, so we do get to see if he is in the game what his competitor card would do. We don't know anything about finishers yet, but here's the card. It is Loudmouth Leo Larynx. The logo is his name, and then of course a purple and yellow megaphone. The art on the picture he put out is essentially him in a red suit with a red tie and a black shirt holding a red megaphone. The skills are Power 6, Technique 10, Agility 9, Strike 7, Submission 8, Grapple 5. His gimmick is, when you roll 10 for your turn roll, add 1 Loudmouth Leo Larynx finish from your discard pile to your hand, or your next turn roll is +1. So, a pretty good, a good gimmick. It's going to let him bring finishes back if he has finishes in his discard pile when he rolls his 10. If he doesn't, it's going to let him get +1s to his rolls, which, again, it's roll 10, not roll your 10 skill. So, if he gets that +1, he rolls a 9. He rolls his 9 skill, he rolls his agility, that's his 10. So if he just, for some reason, keeps rolling agility over and over, once he rolls technique once and keeps rolling agility over and over, he's going to keep being able to add +1 or eventually add a finish. I like that gimmick a lot. It's simple. It's strong. It will, of course, trigger Booker Mania if he chooses to go with the extra roll being +1. Of course, he could also choose to add to avoid triggering Booker Mania. Same thing with Matt Nealon. He could also choose to add to avoid triggering Matt Nealon. For those of you who don't know, when you have a choice like this, you can choose an option you can't do. If this case, for example, if he's playing Booker Mania, he doesn't want to give Booker Mania a +1 to his turn roll, he can say, I'm going to add the finish, even if he has no finish in there, just nothing would happen. But you're allowed to choose stuff you don't do. Same thing with people like Salty Sailor, where when he rolls his grapple, he can choose to flip 3 cards or add a grapple from his discard pile to his hand. If he has no grapples in his discard pile, he can still choose to add the grapple. It just nothing happens. He doesn't have to flip if he doesn't want to flip, which he may not. If he's playing a Ring of Fire and flipping is going to cause him to lose the game, he won't flip. He'll choose to add to save himself. So, or maybe he's playing something like a Lumberjack where when you flip, it just goes to the bottom. He's going to choose to add so he doesn't have to lose the cards off the top, especially if he puts something on top he likes. For example, those are some examples. But, of course, with a technique of 10, to me, you're going to run single leg crab as your skill stop. I know with an agility of 9, you're probably looking to run. Yeah, you would probably run kick in the corner, but he does have a submission of 8. You could run with an agility of 9. You could run, I believe is it Alien Invasion? Yeah, I believe it's Alien Invasion, which of course says it's a skill card. You have to have a submission of 8 or greater, which he does have a submission of 8. If your agility skill is higher than your opponent's agility, you can stop any grapple, and you can place a card from your discard pile on top of your deck. So you could certainly, with Loudmouth Leo, it's not your 10, but it's a 9. It's going to work a pretty good portion of the time. Run that Alien Invasion, good recursion card, to not just be a stop, but to help you get back a card you need out of your discard pile. And of course, even if maybe their agility's higher, you can still play it to take a card from your discard and put it on top of your deck, help get a finish back. It's something to consider if you want to play Loudmouth Leo or not Linux. But I like the card. I think it's a pretty good card. But that's it for the Kickstarter right now. I'm just going to encourage, if you have not pledged, I'm going to recommend doing so. If you have no interest in the alt art or the creating a competitor, I'm always going to recommend going at the $115. I think that's the best value. But if that's too much, if you can't afford that, just go in at the $30, because you're going to get so much value out of the stretch goals that just pledging at the lowest tier to me is worth it. But that's the Kickstarter news. If anything else changes, I'll report on that. In the meanwhile, I am going to recommend, for those of you who have pledged Kickstarter, do the Facebook shares from the SRG Universe. And if you have not yet posted a comment on the Kickstarter page for the Supershow Going Over campaign, please do so. We need 420 unique comments if we want to get that Wall of Text competitor. I think we need more tag teams and more trios in the game. So if you can help us to get another trio in the game, that's good. Again, you don't have to pledge for this. You just have to leave a comment. There is no financial commitment. So if you're not interested in pledging at all, which I don't imagine anyone who's listening to the show wouldn't pledge, but if you happen to be a listener of mine that's not interested in Kickstarter, at least do us a favor and go comment and share. But that's all the Kickstarter talk that we have there. That's all the news I have to report. Hopefully, this time next week, we'll have more information. Hopefully, we'll hit some more stretch goals. We'll have some new stretch goals. I've put it out there that it would be great if maybe Ursus the Wrestling Bear Could be a stretch goal. I don't expect anything, but, he is popular from what I've been told. I'd love to see him get in the game. If we're looking for stretch goals after we hit 50,000, we could do worse. But, yeah, that is all the Kickstarter news. The other big news from this weekend is the Sunshine Smackdown that took place yesterday in Kissimmee, Florida at House Rules Gaming. The big Create-A-Card tournament that they held out there. I have not seen anyone talk about the number of players in the tournament. I assume it was pretty big. I'm going to guess it was, I want to say it looked, from what the videos I've seen and the things I've heard, probably a 40-ish person tournament. Hopefully I'll see that number somewhere. There were also a lot of side events. One of the ones I caught was the general manager of the Legendary Fighting Federation, John Calais, who is currently the Bluegrass champion for KSW King Show Wrestling, with, I believe, 21 title defenses going into this match. He faced off against the Reverend Robert Torn, Alan Hawkins, who was the Asylum Championship Card Wrestling champion, the ACCW champ, which with 21 defenses of that championship as well. They faced off the two members of the Dragon Con championship winning team, Kabuki Kablau. They faced off, and it ended up being a very short match. John Calais took the victory. He's now the ACCW champion. I'm not sure how it's going to work since he doesn't really live in the ACCW area, but he's currently the champion. He now has, I believe, 22 defenses of the Bluegrass Championship. So congrats to him. Other matches on the card for out there that I happened to catch, which, looking at the card, I really didn't see any of these. I saw a little bit of the Interstate Smackdown, but I didn't see who won that. The GM's Chug-Off Steel Cage match. I didn't see the match, but I did see the GM chug some concoction that Chugonomics made for him, so obviously Chugonomics won that one. The Stash versus Stash match, the Cannoli Anthony Perry versus the Reverend Robert Torn. I didn't see the match, but I did see that the Cannoli lost and had to shave off his mustache. So that happened. The other matches, unfortunately I missed most of these matches. I caught some of the finals of the CAC tournament. Of course, now it's time to talk about the big controversy out of the CAC tournament. So, from what I saw, the semifinals were 2 triple threat matches. And the makeup of those matches was kind of rough, because in one CAC triple threat match you had Loudmouth Leo Larynx, Mysterious, and the Cannoli Anthony Perry facing off in a triple threat. The other match you had Mallory Rogers, who's the current BCW champion, Robert the Brain Dunn, who's the head of the think tank and big player down there at FCW, and another gentleman that I had not really seen before this match. I believe the gentleman's name is, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing this incorrectly, it's either Ito or Eto. I want to say Ito makes more sense, Ortiz. And so right away it's kind of a rough setup, because in both triple threat matches, you have, in one triple threat match, you have 2 members of the Inner Circle taking on a member of the Crime Wave. So there's kind of a little bit of an unfair advantage for the Crime Wave member. And then the other one, you have 2 FCW competitors taking on Mallory, who, as far as I know, has no affiliation except maybe the Coven. So it's kind of weighted unfairly there. You could have mixed up, maybe switched one of the Inner Circle and one of the FCW members to make it just one each in each triple threat match. But no, ended up being those triple threat matches. In the one triple threat match, the Loudmouth Leo versus Mysterious versus the Cannoli Anthony Perry. Mysterious ends up coming out of that match the victor. In the other match, and it's a bit of a controversial decision, Robert the Brain Dunn wins. And here's where the controversy comes in. So, Robert the Brain Dunn at the end of the match throws a finish against Mallory Rogers. He rolls his, I believe he rolls his 10, so the total finish roll is a 12, which Mallory has one shot to roll 12 because she triggers her True Survivor card. So she could first breakout roll rather. If she rolled her 10 skills, she'd roll 12 and break out. Otherwise, the only way she could break out is if she got a save roll from the other member of the triple threat match. Robert the Brain Dunn tells the other member of the match, Mr. Ortiz, I will help you get your competitor in the game if you essentially elect to not offer save rolls to Mallory, so she will essentially, if she can't roll her highest skill in her first breakout roll, she'll lose. Because she has one shot of her on her own of rolling a 12, tying the breakout roll. Outside of that, she would have to rely on save rolls, otherwise she will lose completely. So Robert the Brain Dunn makes this offer. Mr. Ortiz accepts. Mallory Rogers does not roll the 10 on the first breakout roll, so she doesn't break out her own. And then essentially she has to roll 2 more times. Each time Mr. Ortiz says, no, I will not offer save roll. So Mallory Rogers loses. Robert the Brain Dunn wins. Goes on to essentially, at Crowd Meter 2 in the finals, facing Mysterious. He wins by countout. And so he wins the Creative Competitor competition at his home store, the competition he himself set up. Wins that, and so essentially ends up turning the think tank heel by essentially, bribing somebody to help him beat a child. In kayfabe, that's pretty rough. I know out of kayfabe, a lot of the think tank members were taking a lot of heat for that, and it got a little contentious. Hopefully all that's put behind us. It's kind of rough that happened on the eve of the Kickstarter, that something that would be perceived by a lot of people as very negative. But apparently with all parties involved are fine. Mallory's mother, Christy Overby, the SRG mom, made a post sort of, clearing the air, saying everything's fine. There's no hard feelings. We ask you treat her like any other player. So, as far as I know, hatchet's buried. Nobody's that was directly involved is mad. But that's a thing that happened that kind of tainted the event a little bit. But congrats to everyone who essentially did well at that event. That ended up, of course, congrats to Robert the Brain Dunn for winning the championship. Congrats to everyone for putting on a great show, for getting as far as you did. I know some people struggled down there, but it was good. I think it's our first big tournament in Florida. So glad to see that, House Rules Gaming is big enough to hold a tournament like that. I'm just hoping BCW one day will be able to hold a tournament like that. But congratulations to them. One more thing about the Florida event. Part of the event, starting before the event and I believe continuing afterwards if necessary, was a series of triple threat matches, payoff pack draft matches where essentially each person in the triple threat match bought a payoff pack, opened it up, used one of the single competitors in the pack, constructed a 1 through 30 deck using that competitor, played the other two gentlemen. First, I believe it was first fall triple threat match. The winners of, I want to say they did 9 matches. The first 9 people to win faced off in 3 additional triple threats to cut to a final 3 facing off in a triple threat. The winner, the third man in the first ever Triad Championship match the LFF is going to have, which I believe is going to be at the Grand Gathering. The 2 men in the match so far, I believe, are TJ Marconi and the trash man Neil Nealon. The third man, Hold the Line Harry, aka Jonathan Thew, is going to be in that match. So those are the 3 men who will have the chance to become the first ever LFF Triad Champion, Triple Threat Champion. I'm still not sure what the final name is going to be on that. Kind of like Triad myself. But congratulations to Hold the Line here. I know you're a fan of the show, so you're probably listening to this. Congratulations to you. Before I get on to what's coming up next week, I want to talk about one last thing that happened in the community this week, and that is the final match of round 2 of the 2019 Creative Competitor Competition. It was a team of Hands of Steel, James Hand Productions, and Steel Wool taking on the team of Ohio Derailed, Bobby Ohio, and Dizzy Derailed. And what I think is kind of an upset, although with watching the match it was very close all the way through, Ohio Derailed won. Steel Wool, who I thought was a favorite to win the whole thing, is not going on to round 3. Bobby Ohio and Dizzy Derailed are the victors. So, the top 8 in round 3 are the Trash Man Neil Nealon, the Big Guy Gary Schneider, the Dweeb Stephen Lyons, Nanak of the North, Anthony Perry the Cannoli, Hold the Line Harry, Jonathan Few, Funtime Bob, Bob Odell, Bobby Ohio. I don't ever hear him and refer to him as our Lewis, but Robert Lewis, and of course Dizzy Derailed, Dizzy LaPinta, I believe is her name. That is your top 8 in the 2019 Creative Competitor Competition. I do not know what kind of matches they're going to run in round 3 of the competition. We're going to see. I don't know if it's going to be singles all the way through, if they're going to try to, maybe run 2 fatal 4-ways and get it down to a finals real quick. I have no clue. It's wide open what they could do, but I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to see who's going to be the newest competitor in the Super Show. I expect we'll hear about round 3 next Talk of the Universe, so Wednesday, 3 days from now as I record this. But that is all the news of the past. Looking forward. Oh, before I move ahead, one last thing. Of course, Level Up Expo was also this weekend. This was the last day of it. The only thing I really saw out of that, I watched the match of the Corporate Law playing as Leo Law, taking on the Blue Line Beast playing as the Blue Line Beast. The Blue Line Beast and Vegas Invaders released for sale at Level Up Expo. They should be releasing on the website. I want to say sometime this week. Not 100% on that, but soon. The Blue Line Beast did win that match, so congratulations to him. The other match I did not see, but I heard about. Apparently, Eddie Fury took on the Salty Sailor. Salty Sailor using EC3 for a championship, and Salty Sailor ended up winning with EC3, becoming the SCW champion. And then outside of that, I'm not really seeing if we've picked up a lot of players from Level Up Expo yet, but if we have, if you're one of the players who learned about the game at Level Up Expo and you're listening to this podcast for the first time, welcome. I hope you continue to listen. I hope you continue to play and enjoy this game as much as I do. But that's Level Up Expo. We're going to talk about a couple of new events, talk about some of the new cards coming out, and then that'll be the show. So, next weekend, 2 big things coming up. Number 1, Wizards Mania, Wizards Asylum Comics and Games, Norman, Oklahoma. They are holding their own Creative Competitor competition tournaments where the winner will be able to create their own competitor in the Super Show. That's happening February 29th. Looks like 1 p.m. start time, but I'd recommend getting there early, especially if you have to fill out any sort of deck list. I don't, off the top of my head, recall if you do or don't. Looks like the entry fee is $30. I'm not sure if that's a pre-registration fee or if that is the just total at the door. I would check with them if you're planning to go out there beforehand, because if it's cheaper to pre-register, I would 100% recommend doing that. So just reach out to us. I think it's Scott Prime running that show. Reach out to Scott Prime. I believe the I believe it's Prime Mayhem versus the Law and Paw Connection is one of the big featured matches there. I imagine we'll get a lot of the Texas players coming up for that. Maybe some other players from places I'm not even thinking about. But it'd be nice to see something big come out of there. Don't see as much from the WCCW crowd as you do from other playgroups. So it'd be nice to see some big events coming out of WCCW. And of course, PAX East. PAX East is next weekend. PAX East, I believe, is running from Thursday the 27th through Sunday, March 1st. So SRG will be there running a booth, running demos. I imagine you'll see a lot of RCW presence there. So hopefully that whole New England playgroup will pick up and keep growing. It's been one of the fastest growing playgroups since I've been in the game, and I'm just look forward to everything they're doing out there. But yeah, those are the two big things coming up next weekend. I believe the weekend after is going to be the Matt Stevens Memorial Tournament. Now, I heard the tournament at one point was going to be a trios tournament where everyone's playing trios teams. I've also saw, I believe, the general manager, John Clay, say no, it's a singles. So I'm not sure everything that's going on with that, but I'm hoping to have quite a bit of Matt Stevens Memorial Tournament news next week. So if you're curious about that, please tune in. I don't think I'm going to be able to go to that myself. Just Louisville is just a little far for a day trip. But it's a great playgroup. Of course, it's the home of the current Underworld champion. The current World Heavyweight champion doesn't live too far from there. You've got you've got tournament winners and big tag team champions. It is a hotbed of Super Show activity. It's one of the best areas for Super Show. I know that Corporate Law and South Bell aren't too far from Louisville. You could even see them come up for that. But a lot of great play for Matt Stevens. I know that last year BCW sent representatives to the first Matt Stevens Memorial Tournament. I don't think we're going to be able to send any this year. Just to travel is a little too much for us, so apologies for that. But we all support keeping Matt Stevens in the memories of the SRG Universe. So hope everybody's going to that goes to that, has a good time. I believe the last event news I have is that same weekend. I want to say that the Matt Stevens Memorial Tournament is the Saturday, which would be March 7th, and then March 8th, which is a Sunday, is going to be a Create a Card tournament. From the news I'm hearing out of Rust Belt, this is the Create a Card tournament out of Rust Belt, Recess Games in North Olmsted, Ohio. It sounds like Rust Belt is going to run a Create a Card tournament once a month, every month, except for Marktoberfest when they'll run a Create a Competitor. I'm not sure if that's going to hold true, but at this point we do know they have scheduled a Create a Card tournament for Sunday, March 8th. Don't know if I know I made the last one. I don't know if I'll make this one just because Sunday is usually the day I produce the show. Might have to record the show Saturday night and just put it out Sunday. I do not know yet what's going to happen with the show. But those are the big tournaments I'm aware of coming up over the next essentially 2 weeks. And then anything out beyond that, I'll have to let you know. Of course, the next big thing beyond that, I want to say the last weekend of April, is of course the Grand Gathering 2. Looking forward to that. But yeah, that's the news for tournaments I have coming up. Oh, of course, I should remember that Matt Stevens Memorial Tournament is also, we're going to have the Underworld champion Kirk Polka take on the current number one contender Brian Johnson. He won his shot for winning an online tournament that the general manager John Clay set up. So who knows, going into the Grand Gathering, we could have a new Underworld champion. Of course, this is the second time that Kirk Polka and Brian Johnson have faced off. The last time, there was some interference in the match at Crowd Meter 1. Steel Wool came over, super kicked Brian Johnson in the head. Brian Johnson went down. Kirk Polka grabbed a steel chair, came over, smacked Brian Johnson while he was down. Jacob Maynard called for disqualification, and Brian Johnson won, but because the title could not change hands on a disqualification, Kirk Polka remained the LFF Underworld Champion. But yeah, I think that's all the news I have about the upcoming tournaments. I want to talk about some of the new releases. Two of the new cards that came out as part of the Florida Cardboard Wrestling. There are actually 3 cards that were given out as promos. One of those cards we've discussed earlier, the tag team of Gray Matter. It's the tag team of The Shade and Robert the Brain Dunn. I'm not going to go over that. The other 2 cards are brand new cards. The first card is a submission number 9. It is called An Iconic Performance. It does the same thing as Making an Impact. I believe there's also a grapple version. I cannot recall off the top of my head what the name of that grapple version is. Might be Marvelous Recruits, but again, I'm not sure. What this card says, add 1 lead from your discard pile to your hand. When your opponent forces you to bury any number of cards from your hand, draw 1 card. Of course, this features art that I believe is based on a photograph of WWE wrestlers Xavier Woods and Big E dressed as and posing as the female tag team Iconics doing their iconic pose. So that card was given out to people who had signed up for the Sunshine SmackDown yesterday and as a promo. And the other one is a follow-up grapple number 17, Chicken Wing Wonderplex. The text of this card is, cannot be stopped by Apocalypse. If you have another follow-up in play, draw 1 card. So, pretty basic card. Nothing, I mean, it's alright. If you don't have any other better options, you might think about packing it. You do get a draw card. It is Apocalypse proof. It does have Chicken Wing in the name. I've noticed there have been quite a few cards coming out with Chicken Wing. Whether it's Atomic Chicken Wing, Chicken Wing Wonderplex. So I wonder if maybe somebody's coming down the pike who's going to have some kind of gimmick or finish that triggers off the words Chicken Wing. Who knows? But yeah, those were the 2 promos. And another card I want to talk about, I mentioned this earlier during the Kickstarter review when I brought up the Factory Pack for the Family. Of course, Lorenzo Manicotti is a member of the family. They are putting out a new version of Lorenzo Manicotti. Let me tell you what this version does, what the old version does, and then how this version works with the old finishes. I do not know if this is going to get upgraded versions of the old finishes, if it's going to get brand new finishes. We'll see. But let me give you what the new one does, and then the old one, then we'll look at the finishers. So, the new Lorenzo Manicotti. Power 6, Technique 5, Agility 8, Strike 10, Submission 7, Grapple 9. After you shuffle your deck, your opponent shuffles 1 card from their hand into their deck. So, obviously with the 10 Strike, you're looking at Running Lariat. 9 Grapple, you're looking at DDT. Yeah, obviously, you're going to with this one, you trigger your gimmick when you shuffle your deck. So anything that's going to allow you to shuffle your deck, cards like Splash in the Corner, 360 Lariat, Diving Takedown, cards that cause you to search your deck. Those are going to be nice to help trigger his gimmick and help you get an additional card in your hand. Now, the original Manicotti has the same skills as the new version. The gimmick on the old one is this. Once a turn, after you shuffle your deck for any reason, your opponent buries 1 card in their hand. So now, this is going to work, of course, once a turn means it'll be either on your turn, if you cause yourself to shuffle, or on your opponent's turn, if your opponent causes you to shuffle, this will trigger, and then your opponent will bury 1 card. So I see 2 differences between the gimmick right away. Number 1, In the old gimmick, you're limited to once a turn. The new gimmick, it's anytime you shuffle. So if you, for some reason, have to shuffle your deck 3 times, your gimmick's going to trigger 3 times. Whereas on the old one, if you had to shuffle 3 times, it only triggered once. Second, in the original, your opponent buries a card from their hand. In the new one, they shuffle a card back into the deck. So the new one's going to trigger more often, but it's a little bit mixed bag because it's possible whenever your opponent shuffles, they could shuffle. If they had to bury a good card, they could shuffle that card back up to the top. If they had, if you'd made them bury other good things, they might be able to shuffle that back up to the top. It just depends. I do not know. And well, since the skills are the same, let me go. I've never really gone through the finishes before, so I'm gonna go ahead, for those of you who haven't really looked at Lorenzo Manicotti, go through the old finishes at least and tell you and see how they work. So first finish, strike number 28. Greetings from Sunnyside. +3 to technique, +1 to agility. So it's going to be your technique to an 8 and your agility to a 9. So it'll give you basically 10, 2 9s, 8, 7, and 5. Each player shuffles their hand into their deck and draws the same number of cards. So, with the new one, you're both going to shuffle your hand in the deck. You're going to draw the same number of cards. Your opponent's going to draw the same number of cards. And then your opponent, with your new gimmick, is going to have to shuffle a card that they just drew back into their deck. So that's how the first finish would work. Second finish, Al Dente Bomb, it's finish grapple number 29. +3 to power, so it'll take your power from a 6 to a 9, so it'll give you 10, 2 9s, 8, 7, and a 5. If your opponent breaks out, you may shuffle this card into your deck and draw 1 card. So if your opponent breaks out, you shuffle the finish back into your deck and draw a card. They will shuffle 1 card from their hand back into the deck through the gimmick. And the third card finish, the finish submission number 30, 5 Burrows Chokehold, +1 to submission, +2 to technique. So it'll bump your submission to an 8, your technique to a 7. This will give you stats of 10, 9, 8, 8, 7, 6. And then the rest of the finish reads, each time your opponent rolls for a breakout roll, shuffle 2 cards from your discard pile into your deck, then draw 1 card. So you're going to be shuffling your deck up to 3 times when this hits with the new gimmick, whereas before it only would trigger your gimmick once, could trigger your gimmick 3 times. So when your opponent makes their first breakout roll, if they break out, you get to shuffle 2 cards from discard pile in your deck and draw 1, and they've got to shuffle a card from their hand back into the deck. If they have to use a second breakout roll, you'll shuffle an additional 2 and draw, and they'll shuffle a card back. And if it takes them to the third breakout roll to break out, you'll have shuffled another 2 cards. So you'll have shuffled 6 cards in your deck. You'll have drawn 3 out. Meanwhile, your opponent will have had to shuffle 3 cards from their hand into their deck. And if they break out, then they've lost 3 cards out of their hand. So I quite like the way that his finishes work with his gimmick. Of course, he might get upgrades to his finishes, because I know Lorenzo Manicotti has been considered one of the worst characters in the game prior to this. We'll see how this new version stacks up if his stock rises. But yeah, those are all the, as far as I'm aware, those are all the new cards that we have seen this week. And I believe that is going to do it for our show. One last check-in on the Kickstarter, just to see where we are before I go ahead and give you the list of playgroups and sign off. So as we're going off, the Kickstarter, as it stands currently, the amount pledged is $45,562, which is about $4,000 over last year's total. We have 212 backers, which still, I believe we had I believe what I said earlier was about 320 some backers last year, so not quite as many backers, but we have blown last year's goal, monetary goal anyway, out of the water. We've unlocked 9 stretch goals, not counting the pre-launch stretch goals, and not counting the fully funding and 40-hour stretch goal, or the Hyperforum kicker hold choke goal. I've not seen that listed anywhere either. But there are 212 backers, so I'd say the Kickstarter is off to a pretty rousing success. And I'm hoping more people come into the game, discover, pledge. Game just keeps growing. We get some more stuff. They've only announced through 50,000 and the community goals what the stretch goals would be. I've done this a couple places in the forums. I'm going to do it again here. I nominate the Ursus the Wrestling Bear competitor set as a potential stretch goal if SRG Universe agrees and the people want it. I nominate him as a potential stretch goal. Alright, so here are the play groups that I am aware of in the SRG Universe. If you would like to have your play group added to this list of play groups, if you'd like to leave any comments, give any feedback, ask any questions of the show, you can contact us in a few different ways. You can reach out to me personally, Michael Kirk, through Facebook Messenger. You can send us an email. We're outlawmudcast@gmail.com, or you can send us a direct message on Twitter. We are at Outlaw Mudcast on Twitter. So I'll start with my own local play group, Buckeye Championship Wrestling. We have been running our casual events Saturday nights at the Guard Tower on the west side of Columbus, starting at 6 p.m. We're going to start alternating with another store, a store called Pixel Palace. This week we're going to go there Saturday, and I believe that is an earlier start time. I want to say it is 2 p.m., but if you're in Columbus, you're listening to me, and you want to go, I would ask first. There's quite a few positives about this location, and we're looking at this location as a potential place to run a big tournament. So hopefully things work out. But that's where we'll be this week, Pixel Palace, on the it's on the northwest side of town. Of course, to our north, a group I mentioned earlier, Rust Belt Wrestling. They play at recess games in North Olmsted twice a week. They play Monday nights at 6 p.m. And they also play Sundays, I want to say around 11 or 12. Next group, we'll talk about the LFF Tri-State. They are based out of a store in Fire and Dice in Lynbrook, New York. Of course, their current LFF Tri-State champion is the general manager, John Calais. They play games Thursday nights at 7 p.m. City of Champions Wrestling plays at Titan Game Shop in Hopewell, Pennsylvania. Usually Saturday or Sunday with a noon start time. I believe today they played on Sunday. It can vary, so I'd check with them if you're in that Pittsburgh area. I do know they are planning a CAC sometime in March. We're still waiting to hear more about that, but be on the lookout for that coming up. Florida Cardboard Wrestling, of course, just hosted the Sunshine Smackdown. They normally play Sunday nights at 6:30 at House Rules Gaming in Kissimmee, Florida. Then we have a few groups based out of Michigan. We have 2 groups in Westland, Michigan. New Order Wrestling plays Thursdays starting at 4:30 at Pandemonium. And there's also a group that plays at Destiny Games Wednesdays at 6:30. The final Michigan group is the Skull Group out of Fanfare Comics in Kalamazoo, Michigan. They play there the second and fourth Sunday of every month starting at noon. We talked about them during the Level Up Expo review. Sin City Wrestling, they play at Atomic Trading in Las Vegas Wednesdays at 6 p.m. And of course, we have Wizards Card Championship Wrestling playing at Wizards Asylum Comics and Games in Norman, Oklahoma. They're doing, of course, Wizards Mania, February 29th, 1 p.m. Outside of that, they kind of play sporadically. A lot of times it's Sunday starting at noon, but again, I checked with them if you're interested. Revolutionary Championship Wrestling plays at a couple locations in New England, in Massachusetts specifically, they play at New England Comics in New Bedford, Massachusetts, Saturdays from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. They play at Game King in Fall River, Massachusetts, Sundays starting at noon. And at Tabletop Games in Westport, Massachusetts, they will do demos upon request Tuesday evenings. Next, back to New York. In Oakdale, New York, at East End Gaming, you can find Island Life Wrestling. They have games Wednesday and Friday nights. In Boonton, New Jersey, Highlander Games hosts Meeple People Wrestling. I believe they're still doing it Wednesday nights. There are 2 locations in Pennsylvania for Alternate Universes stores that are running games. There's an Alternate Universes Bluebell store in East Norriton, Pennsylvania that runs Thursday night at 7. And there's a location in Holmes, Pennsylvania. The AU Holmes store runs games Sundays at noon. And then finally, Asylum Championship Card Wrestling, ACCW, has games in Roswell, Georgia at Heroic Gaming Monday nights at 7 and the last Saturday of every month starting at noon. That is a list of playgroups, and that is going to be it for our show. Thank you to everyone for listening, and good day.